Today we're going to make some really amazing vegan white bread, and here are the ingredients that we need for 2 loaves. 4.5 cups of all-purpose flour, that's exactly 675 grams. 1.5 teaspoons of salt, that's equal to 8 grams. 2 tablespoons of olive oil, that is equal to 30 milliliters or 20 grams. 1 3/4 cups of hot water, that is equal to 438 grams or 438 milliliters. 4 teaspoons of regular white granulated sugar, that's equal to 20 milliliters or 20 grams. And our last ingredient, 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast, that's equal to 8 grams. So those are the ingredients, so let's get started. So for today's video, I'm going to be using my KitchenAid mixer. I've got my bowl here. I'm going to get all of my flour right into the bowl. And then all of our salt, our sugar, and our yeast. I'm going to grab a whisk and just mix all of that together. Perfect. And then I'm going to add my water, and my water is exactly at 120 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to pour that in. And our last ingredient, our olive oil. And that's it for the recipe. I'm going to bring in my KitchenAid. I'll set that up and I'll be back in 1 second. So I've got my bowl attached. I'll just get my dough hook on there. Bring our bowl up into position, and now I'm just going to start kneading this. So I'm going to let this go for about 2 minutes and then I'll come back. So this is about 2 minutes later. My dough ball is starting to form, so at this point I'm going to increase my speed and I want to knead this for about 5 minutes. So as you increase the speed, more of that flour starts getting incorporated into the ball. And it looks very, very dry right now, but in a couple of minutes, this is going to turn into a beautiful dough. And you can already see it starting to become more moist. So as it starts kneading, it starts spreading the moisture throughout the whole dough ball. So you can see already, it looked dry and now it's coming back to a really, really nice texture. So I'm going to let this go for about 5 minutes and then I'll come back and we'll continue on with the recipe. So this is about 5 minutes of kneading and my dough looks really, really nice. I'm going to take my finger and I'll just touch. I can see it's a little bit tacky, it's a little bit sticky, but it's not too dry, and that's exactly what I want. I'm going to remove the hook. I'll bring this out and we'll check out our dough. So I'll remove the hook. And then we'll just get our dough out. And look at that nice dough. There's a little bit at the bottom. We'll just get that out. And that looks really nice. I'll just zoom in a little bit just to show you this a little closer up. So you can see when I press it, look, it's not sticking to my hands, which is perfect. The more flour that you add to your dough means it becomes more dense and more dry, and then it doesn't want to rise as nicely. So at this point, we need to let this rise one more time. If we cut this in half and made our 2 loaves right now, when you bake your bread and cut into it later on, you're going to find large air pockets, and that means it's a good indication that somebody didn't do a second rise on their bread. So I'm just going to spray this with a little bit of oil and I'll be back. So I've just sprayed this with some cooking spray. If you don't have cooking spray, you can just line it with a little bit of oil and just wipe it all around inside the bowl. And you can put this into a new bowl if you wish. I am just using the same bowl just so that I don't have to clean up as many bowls. So I'm just getting it all round, right in. And then I'm going to spray the top. So I've just sprayed the top. Hopefully you can see that. And what that does is it inhibits a crust forming on the dough. If a crust forms, it doesn't want to rise. So that looks nice and moist right now. I'm going to cover that with a tea towel, and then I'm going to put this over near my stove, and I'm going to leave that there for about 40 minutes. So this is 40 minutes later. I'm going to show you what our dough looks like now. So you can see it has doubled in volume. Looks really, really nice. And here's always the fun part. Take your hand and just give it a nice push. Look at that. Oh, it feels good. You can see how nice this dough is. Look at this. And I'm just going to bring it right out. Look at that. Really, really nice. So at this point, I want to split this into 2 equal size pieces of dough, and I've got a little scale here, and to make this super easy for me, I'm going to do everything in grams as I always do. So I'm going to start working on this. So I'm just going to eyeball this to begin with. Cut it, throw it on here. 475. 671. 582, this one was 475. We're getting closer. 562. And then we got that little piece left. I'll just cut it in half, one there and one there, and we're done. And then I'm just going to take them, and I'm just going to start getting my little shape. You can see how nice this dough is. Really, really nice dough. I know I'm not supposed to use the word beautiful too much, but this really is beautiful dough. That's good. I'm going to be using a couple of little baking pans here. I'm just going to spray these with some vegetable spray. So I've just sprayed these with a vegetable spray. If you don't have that at home, you can just put some vegetable oil in and just take your hands and just make sure that all of your corners and everything are well oiled. And then what I'm going to do here, I'll work on the first one. I want to get this nice, so I just fold in the edges, just make a nice size, just kind of estimate it. And the nicer it looks before it goes in, the better it's going to look when it's baked. So just play with it until you think you got it right, and then just get it in there. And that's number 1. And then number 2. So kind of look at it and try to even it out. So look at here. That looks good. And then get it, and just get right in there. And then I'm going to spray both of these again with vegetable spray on the top. There's 1. And then 2. And I forgot to mention, but the first rise, I let the dough stay in my KitchenAid bowl for a total of 40 minutes. And now I'm going to let these go for about a half an hour, and then we're going to pop it into a 375 degrees for 40 minutes. So I'm going to leave these here. So I'm going to put a tea towel over these to keep them warm, and I'm going to let them go for 15 minutes. So I'm going to put a timer on 15 minutes, and then I'm going to remove the towel because as these start to rise, I don't want them to touch the towel. So 15 minutes like that, I'll let them rise up, and then I'm going to come back and show you what they look like. So here we are again, 30 minutes later, and my dough is ready to go. I just dropped the camera a little bit so that you could see how nicely our dough has risen. At this point, I want to get these into the oven. 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to bake these for 40 minutes. So here we go. Just before I take them out of the oven, I just wanted to show you what they look like. So that's 40 minutes exactly in my 375 degree oven. And they look really, really good. So I'm going to pull those out and we'll head back over to our work area. Okay, so here's my first one and my second one. So right now these are extremely hot right out of the oven, and the first thing that you want to do is you want to get these out of your tins right away. And the reason for that is if you leave it in the tin, there's a lot of moisture, a lot of heat that's inside the bread, and it's trying to come out. And what will happen is if you leave it in your tin, even for 10-15 minutes, it'll actually start coming out, and the bottom and the sides of your bread can actually start getting a little bit wet. So you want to get those right out of your tins right away. And you can just see bread always just pops out just like that. Really, really simple. You can see how nice these are. And you want to put it on a cooling rack where you have air going underneath. Because if you place this directly on, your work surface that doesn't have any airflow underneath, you can actually get the bottom would start getting a little bit soft. So just like that. Ooh, these are nice. Very, very hot. So at this point I'm going to let these completely cool down, which is going to take a good couple of hours. And then I'll cut into one and show you what it looks like inside. So this is about 2 hours later. My bread has completely cooled. And at this point I'll just show you what it looks like all over. We've got some nice texture going on. Really, really nice. You can hear it's hollow. Listen. Which tells you that the bread is really nicely done inside. So that sounds good. So let's cut into one of these. A little cutting board over. Make sure we're on camera. And let's cut into this. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So as you can see here, you can see all of the little air pockets are really nice, and this is because we let our dough rise that second time. If you don't let it rise that second time, you're gonna get air bubbles that are a lot bigger. But there, that you can see really, really nice. Let's take another slice. You can hear that nice crunch on the top. Look at that. Really nice. That smells so good. There's nothing nicer than freshly baked bread at home. Look at this. Really, really good. So that's it for this really fun video. I love making bread. I hope you try this at home, and I hope me showing you how to do it has given you a little bit more confidence so that you can try it at home as well. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you wish. I really do appreciate that. That's it, and I'll see you next time. That's good.